Good morning and welcome to Perthshire Podcasts. My name is Ian Fennick and I'm joined today with Mr. Pete Gottgens, aka the Highland Firecage chef. Good morning, Pete.
Hi, good to be here, Ian.
So, Pete, you're not from around here originally. You're coming from South Africa, I believe. So what brought you to Perthshire and the Highlands?
So, grandparents, both my wife and myself's family come from Scotland. Her family come from Mull originally. Okay. Mine come from Perthshire, just down the road from where we live now.
Okay.
And, with people going out to travel, explore, settle, do various things as they did, 120 odd years ago. So, it's just completing the circle.
Right. So you felt something was calling you back.
Absolutely. My late grandmother spoke fondly of Scotland and the few times she'd been here and, her very young childhood. And, having lived here now on and off for best part of 15 plus years, it is a lovely, lovely part of the world,
Especially in the days that we've been having recently. There's very few places in the world that you can compare it to. So you've come over from South Africa and you are a chef. So tell us how you got into chefing and what you've been doing as a chef in Scotland since you arrived 15 years ago.
So I didn't ever plan to become a chef.
Okay.
I dropped out of school, wasn't particularly academic, enjoyed sports and needed pocket money when I got to Europe and started washing pots and plates in Italy. And I spent almost 2.5 years washing up and then graduating from the pot wash to a junior chef and just carried on from there. I've never really given it much thought. When you enjoy what you do,
yeah,
you don't have to think about it.
So from washing pots in Italy to cooking in a fire cage in the Highlands of Scotland, that is quite a journey.
Yeah, and everything in between. Having grown up outdoor in Africa, cooking over open coals, open fires, is second nature. And I've been cooking, let's call it commercially, on fire cages or on open fire cooking, wood and charcoal. Wouldn't call it, in South Africa we have a saying, and it's pretty much in the world now, barbecues on gas, and you either a sardo or you braai or you do whatever, depending on where you are in the world, it's over charcoal or over coals.
Right.
And that's what we try and do.
Ah, fantastic. So when you say fire cage, I think there's a lot of people will want to understand what exactly is a fire cage.
It's the punk version or steampunk version of open fire cooking or barbecue cooking. It's the heavy metal, let's call it. It's the heavy metal of the barbecue world.
Right, okay. So you're just hanging the meats off the cage?
Anything from hanging, supporting, suspending, creating levels of fire.
Okay.
All right. So you could, on one cage, have 3 levels of fire and you cook in between the levels. So you get radiant heat as well as heat from below. Right. And then obviously, we try and deal with large cuts. So legs, half carcasses, whole carcasses, wherever possible.
Right. And the veg and everything else, that's all hung in the cage?
Absolutely. That sort of smoky aroma, that sort of slightly charred, burnt.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking to achieve. And it's all about fire management.
Right.
And the skills not just in the cooking, but it's procuring the right wood source or charcoal source to give you the right types of heat. And, at the Scottish Game Fair this year, we'll have 3 different wood types, 2 different charcoal types for cooking different things on.
Right. So, it sounds extremely theatrical, but it's also about the cooking. This isn't just a bit of theatre. This is a real proper way of cooking meat and a good way to get that flavour.
It goes way back, to when man and fire first came together. it's about coming together. It's about camaraderie. It's about sharing and caring. And, in the sort of early days, man would gather around a fire to warm, to eat, and to share stories. And that's pretty much the philosophy we have as well. It's this whole thing of bringing people together. The ingredients are really, really important because you have very little scope for getting it wrong.
Right.
It goes wrong quickly.
Yeah, I bet it does. But it's a lovely romantic sort of idea, coming together, sharing, breaking bread and meat,
Yeah.
and etc. I love that kind of sort of authentic, natural sort of return
Yeah.
to what. So you're talking about the game fair, because we were going to go into the game fair. So the game fair is on the 4th to the 6th of July at Scone Palace. So if you've not been to the game fair before, it's a wonderful event. Lots going on, lots to see, lots to do, lots of entertainment, lots of animals and people doing lots of different things. And you can get really involved. And Pete, the Highland Firecage chef, is running a restaurant there. Is that right? And you are going to be joined by Tony Singh, who a lot of people will know from the television a lot, and Tom Kitchen, who of course is from the Michelin-starred kitchen in Edinburgh. So tell us a bit more about what's going to be happening at Scone
So
Palace.
the GWCT Scone Game Fair this year is sort of the highlight of the rural coming together, celebrating game. We're working with Highland game, we're working with natural products. And what we've done is we've invited chefs in, Tom Kitchen, Tony Singh, to each be a guest chef. So Tom's on the Friday, Tony's on the Saturday, and they guest chefing. So there's a little twist on the menu on each day, which is their dish, but you can have it on other days if you want. You can order it online. So you can book your place in the restaurant. It does get rammed. It's busy. This year, compared to years in the past, we're on the main arena, which is a nice point of difference, as opposed to, elsewhere on the periphery. And most important, from a price perspective, the organizers have asked us to make it super competitive. So, for 60 quid, you can have a meat feast.
A proper meat feast.
Absolutely. And, we've got fantastic roe deer in season at that time of the year. There'll be beef, there'll be lamb, there'll be poultry, free-range chicken, and everything sourced from farms or estates that we have a connection with. The same with all the vegetables. Some of the veg and berries and things like that we're going to be using. Literally, when you're standing in Scone, you could walk to these estates.
Wonderful. I think it's important. I mean, I've been working in the food and drink industry for a while myself, and provenance, and it's a word that's kind of crept in. It's now part of everyday discussion. People want to know where their food is from, and they are far more inclined to purchase local ingredients, which I think is a really good thing. And that's what you embrace.
To me, it's sustainable, traceable.
Right.
Let people make choices based on knowledge. So, yes, we understand that lambs these days will need some sort of a jag or something at some stage of their life, or some sort of supplement. But if we know about it, we can make an informed decision on whether we eat it or we don't. When it becomes contentious is where producers of food try and do things to keep the price down, bulk volume, and as humans, we don't get the benefit. We actually get a negative. And so this is why we're trying to do natural, grass-fed lamb, beef, venison that just grazed up on the moor. It's totally natural, and you can't get better than that.
No, you can't. So, have you got a menu already designed? What sort of stuff are you going to be cooking for on the menu? What dishes can people expect?
So basically, we've got 4 or 5 different platters you can have. So there's a vegetarian platter, there's a fish platter. So we cook monkfish on the barbecue, on the fire cage, however you want to call it. And then we put it into a whiskey barrel just to get a touch of smoke at the end. We've then got venison, as I mentioned, the roe deer, beef, lamb, chicken. And depending on the platter you choose, you can find it on the Game Fair website. But you could choose whatever platter you want, and they come at different prices with different things on them. Each one has a starter item, i.e. venison rillettes or a fish pate. And then there's a dessert, which is pineapples, which are not local. Even with this weather, we might have in a few years. But we have pineapples that come with a whiskey syrup.
Okay.
And then some beautiful Kolbegi farm berries from Persia.
Yep.
So, yeah, should be a good feed, and lots of homemade bread that we finish off on the fire cages.
Right. That sounds good.
Yeah, and then one other thing which is going to be, for me, really good, there's a little place called Bothy Butter, and we've got handmade butter. It's an ancient recipe, over 100 years old, somebody's granny's recipe, and they're making us butter just for the game fair.
That is worth going along for just on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. When I tasted it the other day, it was just wow.
Yeah.
Got to have this in my restaurant. Got to have this in, the game fair for events and for our weddings and other things that we do.
Well, that's right, because obviously the Highland Firecage is normally seen at weddings, private functions, etc. So if you are getting married or you have a corporate event or any event, really, then you want to have a bit of theatre and a bit of drama, some good food, then Highland Firecage is something that you could certainly seek out. But the game fair, is this the first time that you've brought it to the masses to make it accessible to everybody?
Okay, so the biggest barbecue event I've ever done was in London.
Okay.
At the Bernie Spain's Gardens, and that was for 35,000 people in a single day. So, at that stage, it was a Guinness Book of Records attempt, and I think we got it. I can't even remember it so far back. It's probably 30 odd years ago, something like that. And it was massive. And the idea now is, we love cooking over coals, as I said. We're doing this. We do it for weddings. And, we even have our Highland Firecage cookery classes towards the end of the year.
Okay.
So we have smaller classes for about 8 to 14 people. Come and have a day, come and learn to work the coals and experience it. And, obviously weddings are our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And we have lots of theatre, lots of fun. It's real life cooking, come rain, snow, wind, whatever.
I noticed that on it. It says, we cook outside whatever the weather. Absolutely. That's the tagline, whatever the weather.
You'll see me in my shorts. I cook. I've been in snow ankle deep and cooking. And if you get the coals right, you shouldn't have too much problem. The wind is the worst thing.
Right. Okay. But hopefully you'll be quite sheltered within the game fair because of obviously the structure around it. This year we're hoping the game fair, if we can get weather like this, then it's going to be 3 days of absolute heaven, isn't it? So I'm looking forward to it. We're actually setting up. We're taking the podcast to the game fair this year. So I'm looking forward to doing a bit of filming and getting to see the Firecage in action, because I've heard so much about it. Right. But I don't think until you see it, I don't think you could probably really imagine it. The photos that I've seen, they're always the photos I've seen are before, not during, because obviously you're too busy cooking. Yep. So it'd be good to come and see it all.
It's definitely not your hamburgers and sausage type.
Definitely not hamburger and sausage event. No, definitely not. So we're really looking forward to that. But there's something else that you're up to at the moment, and because you're living near Blairgowrie at the moment, or that's where you've settled.
Yeah.
And so for all those people in Blairgowrie and around Blairgowrie, some news is that a new restaurant and bottle shop will be opening a week on Saturday.
28th we are open. Couple of issues with builders, but the 28th will be open to the public.
Perfect.
For our first day, and fingers crossed we have everything finished by then.
And it's going to be called the Causerie. Or the Causerie. Tell us why the name the Causerie.
So the Causerie is an old English Scots word for chit chat, small talk, things that people do in a wine bar, in a restaurant, where it's that coming together.
Yeah.
And about have friends, about talking, about sharing. And the Causerie was also, where I was born in South Africa. My dad was running what was then the first 5-star hotel in South Africa. The restaurant was called the Causerie. So I just thought this is probably my
Nostalgia.
exactly a bit of nostalgia, a bit of old school, and we hope to sort of showcase that in our style of service. It's not this quick slapdash style service. It's take your time, relax, and enjoy it. And
So you're not turning tables. It's all about people coming in, sitting down, and enjoying themselves and enjoying that experience. And it's a destination rather than just a fast food joint. Nice.
The idea is people can come in, sit down, relax, converse, and treat it as another room in their house.
And I presume you won't be cooking in a fire cage in the restaurant. So what sort of food, and when you say bottle shop, explain a little bit more about what to expect.
So we're going to have a retail offering of wine, spirits, particularly whiskies. There's no standalone whiskey shop in Blairgowrie. There's a wonderful one down the road in Dunkeld and other small villages around it, but not in Blair. So we're going to be offering that as well. So people who want gifts pop in. We'll have fresh flowers for sale, lots of wines. But you can come and taste the wine before you buy as well.
Okay.
We will be cooking over coals in the restaurant. So I've got a small Japanese Conroe grill, which is sort of a tabletop version. And we'll do little yakitori skewers, or we'll do little bits of something, whether it's venison or fish grilled over that, as well as on a flat top plancha type grill.
Sounds wonderful.
But everything fresh, flavor driven food, keep it simple, and our standard adage is less is more.
And the wines, because I know that you had a go at making wine in Scotland years ago when you were Ardenneg, is it?
That's right. Yeah. Well, maybe not wine making, but planting vineyards with the idea onto making wine. We never got there fully. But yes, we planted the most northern vineyards in Scotland or in the UK. And at that stage, the only vineyard in Scotland. I enjoy wine. I love wine. It goes with the food. We're going to have wine from all over the world,
right.
Focusing on biodynamic, organic, less intervention style wine, natural wines, wherever possible. And the same to all our beverages, whether it's coffee, soft drinks, etc. We applying the same principle across the board.
Fantastic. Sounds wonderful. And that's the 28th you're open.
28th of May.
Good. Well, though, if you keep an eye out on social media, follow the Perthshire local channels. We'll be shouting about it to make sure people are there and lining up. Just a quick question I forgot to ask. Will Tony and Tom, they will be cooking on the fire cage?
Absolutely. So Tom's got a wonderful dish of scallops with seaweed butter and freshly picked sea herbs.
That sounds amazing.
So and that you can order as an add-on. Tony's doing a mix of a venison and lamb kofta with his signature spice and pickled onions. And again, that's going to be a wonderful thing. My mouth salivating just looking at both their instructions of what we need to have ready for them. But yes, certainly they will be hands-on.
Tony, you'll probably have seen Tony on things like Saturday Morning Kitchen and things like. He's a real great character, a lot of fun. That would be a great day to be cooking with Tony. I've never met Tom. Tom being a Michelin star chef, I expect him to be very intense and very perfectionist.
He's a wonderful guy, laid back. Both of them I know pretty well, and both great guys who will add a lot of value to the day. You can come and chat to them. You can come and meet them. They're there to mingle with, not just cook, but actually to meet guests.
Wonderful. I think that's great. I mean, Tony's brilliant. I said I've never met Tom, but Tony I've met on a lot of occasions, and he loves the crowd, and he loves entertaining, and he loves to mingle, and people love him. He's a very, he's a good, fantastic character. And without a doubt, if you haven't had the pleasure of seeing Tony Singh cook, or the pleasure of eating Tom Kitchen's food, this is an excellent opportunity that should not be missed. So, well, thank you very much, Pete, for coming down and talking to us. That's been really interesting, and I cannot wait. So there's a lot going on this summer for you. Very, very busy. So, well, I'll tell you what, when we meet again at the Game Fair and we sit down, we have a chat then, well, we can chat about how the Causerie is getting on and everything else that's happening in your life.
Great. Look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
thanks very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure today, and thanks again to Pete and to Ian for helping us with the production. We shall see you next. I think our next podcast will be with the guys from Perth Theatre and Perth Concert Hall, who are coming in to talk about 125 Live, which is a big festival, week-long festival in September to celebrate 100 years of Perth Theatre and 25 years of Perth Concert Hall. Until then, we'll enjoy. We'll see you soon.